Are there bioweapons in Ukraine? Or is this just a conspiracy theory being pushed by Russia? 2 years since the war erupted in Ukraine, there are no clear answers, only claims and counterclaims. But this week, the Russian Defense Ministry has released footage of what it claims is a makeshift Ukrainian laboratory used to produce substances that could become chemical weapons. Have a look at this video. Footage released by the Russian military purportedly shows a serviceman wearing a hazmat suit and a gas mask collecting samples from various pieces of equipment and containers. You can see him examining a glass jar containing what looks like a yellowish solid substance. A large piece of equipment that reportedly looks like a chemical reactor is also seen in the video. The Russian serviceman in the video is reportedly using a portable chemical analyzer. The clip then shows the samples collected arriving at a Russian military site. On Monday, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, who leads Russia's chemical and biological defense forces, said that the facility was discovered near Avdiivka in Donetsk. Remember, the Russian forces seized the town from Ukraine's control in February after months of a bloody battle. According to the Russian general, traces of sulfuric acid and sodium cyanide, as well as cyanide anions, were found at the site. They are poisonous chemical compounds of the cyano group. Sulfuric acid and sodium cyanide used to produce hydrogen cyanide, a highly toxic agent that was used as a chemical weapon during World War I. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the laboratory was located in a partially destroyed building filled with debris. The Russians allegedly discovered a large number of empty containers inside the lab. In his briefing, the Russian general also stated that the Russian military has recorded at least 2 cases of the possible use of hydrogen cyanide by the Ukraine forces. According to Russian military, civilians in Avdiivka showed symptoms consistent with hydrogen cyanide poisoning. In May this year, there were claims that traces of this chemical were also found on ammunition fragments in Russia's Belgorod region. But the Russian allegations are not new. In 2022, in fact, Russia accused Ukraine of running a secret biological weapons program and having plans to obtain a nuclear weapon. What does Ukraine have to say about these allegations? Kiev denies having any weapons of mass destruction, and it has the backing of the US in this. In fact, the Russian claims have been called absurd. But Russia has also been accused of using chemical weapons on Ukraine. After years of Ukrainians sounding the alarm over Russia's alleged use of chemical weapons, the US Department of State this year substantiated the claims when it announced sanctions on the country's chemical and biological weapons programs. In May this year, the US charged Russia with using the chemical weapon called chloropistrin against Ukrainian forces. The US State Department said that this was in violation of the Chemical Weapons Convention. Chloropistrin, which the US says Russia used to dislodge Ukrainian forces, is an oily substance which was widely used during World War I. It causes irritation of the lungs, eyes and skin. It can cause vomiting, nausea, diarrhea. The use of this chemical in war is banned under the Chemical Weapons Convention, or CWC. It is listed as a choking agent by the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, or OPCW. Ukraine says its troops have faced mounting chemical attacks. According to Reuters, Russian forces had used grenades loaded with CS and CN tear gases early this year in the battlefield. According to the report, at least 500 Ukrainian soldiers have been treated for exposure to toxic gases, and that one had died after suffocating on tear gas. Russia rejects these accusations, calling them baseless. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters in Moscow that Russia stood by its obligations under the CWC, which prohibits states from developing or acquiring new weapons. Some 193 states have ratified the convention. In fact, in 2017, the OPCW said Russia had destroyed the last of its Cold War-era stockpile of the weapons, as required under the CWC. But since 2017, Russia has been accused of at least 2 chemical attacks: the Salisbury attack on a former Soviet intelligence officer and the 2020 poisoning of the late Russian opposition leader, Alexei Navalny. These are allegations. The truth is unknown, but the longer the war continues, the longer the specter of chemical warfare looms. In the end, Russia or Ukraine using chemical weapons endangers more than just the countries at war. Broader support from around the world is required if we wish to protect against chemical weapons proliferation globally. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.